We're back. An abundance of Twitter users believe they can troll and rant with impunity no matter how debasing or even threatening their 140 characters posts pose. Actress Ashley Judd says reaction to her recent tweet about a college basketball game elicited such vitriol and personal threats that she's taking legal action. Quote, "I knew it was a crime. It was time to call the police and to say to the Twitter sphere, no more." Starbucks' attempt to get people talking about race relations unleashed tweets so disturbing, a company executive deleted his Twitter account because he felt personally attacked. Following my own Washington Post column on Ferguson, my Twitter feed was awash in belittling race-based outrage from the left, made all the more unsettling by praise from the right from folks who usually accuse me of, quote, playing the race card. We're back with our roundtable, Casey, Paul, and Lauren. So to the three of you, have you ever experienced Twitter's toxic side? And that's not a rhetorical question.
Is there another side? Is there a side that's not side? Like, is that what Twitter's for?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, Paul, who is that? Lauren? Who's going to talk about their experience?
Well, I
Briefly.
haven't had anything that bad happen, but I do bring race up every now and then, so you do get some people. But, you know, it's anonymous. A lot of this is because the anonymity gives people a lot of courage, you know, so they'll go after you for that. But I've not had anything really bad happen.
Yeah, and Jonathan, you know, I think that Twitter is unique in some ways in that it's very hard to diffuse, you know. I mean, we've all been experiencing email, other kinds of technology over the years, people writing really nasty things. My technique has always been to write back to those people, and I usually come away with them saying, oh, you know, I didn't really actually realize you were a person, and thank you for taking the time to write back to me. Twitter is the opposite. I've tried that once or twice to engage with the people on Twitter who do this. They're just, it can not do anything but get worse.
And I will say that the Pew Foundation was out with a new study today that they surveyed people around the world who are developing countries looking to get internet access. And they all said it would be great to get internet access, but like 40% of them said it would be bad for morality to get the internet. And this is why. I mean, I think it's because of this kind of stuff. You know?
Yeah, I mean, I'm almost inclined to agree with that. I mean, Casey, I do what you do when it comes to email. The nastier the email, the more likely I'm to respond because they will realize that there's a human being on the other side. But anyway, here's what Ashley Judd told MSNBC on Monday.
The way things happen on social media is so abusive, and everyone needs to take personal responsibility for what they write and not allowing this misinterpretation and shaming culture on social media to persist. And by the way, I'm pressing charges.
So, Paul, Casey, Lauren, what's your reaction to Ashley Judd saying she's going to press charges?
Well, good luck. I mean, I don't know if she can. I honestly don't know what the legal theory is you go upon other than abusive speech. It's hard to do. I mean, there have been some, I think, wasn't there a Facebook case at one point where somebody was able to make a case that you had forced somebody to commit suicide or something like that? Bullying, possibly. It's really hard otherwise. I don't see where she goes.
Well, she still took some really disgusting tweets. I actually don't blame her for trying to take some action. It kind of reminds me of the big blow-up that Richard Sherman had to deal with, the Seattle Seahawks. I mean, he took a lot of stuff and he sort of let it go, but actually I don't blame her for trying to sort of take some action and try to push back on this.
Right.
Casey,
yeah, and I think the question too is whose responsibility is this, and does Twitter as a company have a responsibility to do a better job of policing some of this? I mean, they've added to their controls and one's ability to report abuse or disparaging tweets, you know, assaults, whatever. You know, there are a wide range of the kinds of offensive tweets that one could send, but you know, I think that we have to ask ourselves that question. Obviously, it's the responsibility of the tweeter themselves, but is Twitter contributing to this toxic environment more broadly?
Well, the tweeters do get involved in this. I mean, we had Kanye West the other day tweet a series of photos of his wife with no clothing on. So does he expect to get no reaction from that? I mean, he's doing that, I think, to sort of divert attention from Kendrick Lamar's album. But celebrities use Twitter, too, as a way, as a device to get attention.
Right. Well, speaking of attention, Starbucks got a whole lot of attention for what it's trying to do. You know, quite frankly, I admire what Howard Schultz is trying to do, you know, the chairman of Starbucks, who is coming at this from a really pure place. But the reaction to what he wants to do in the stores is just, it was incredible. Do you think they were wrong, naive to try to go down this route?
Well, and keep in mind, I will say Starbucks did this with USA Today. So as a member of the USA Today staff, I have to applaud this project. But I mean, look, I mean, race is a part of every conversation in America, whether you know it or not. If you're watching this program and someone says, which one is Singer, you'll say he's the white guy, right? That's how we define ourselves to some degree. It's in every conversation anyway. You can't. It's very hard to sort of start that conversation in the middle of a sidewalk and say, hey, you're the black guy, hey, you're the white guy. What do you think of that? Well, I'm not sure what they're trying to get out of it.
Well, I think Starbucks should be commended, though, for trying, because most of the time what you hear, particularly from corporate America, is they don't try to have these conversations. So that Starbucks is trying to actually prompt a conversation is in itself, I do think, is a good thing. It's a hard conversation to have. They're probably about to learn that, but at least they're trying to do it.
And Jonathan, you know, I mean, think about that. Really highlights the difference between how we interact with each other when we are actually elbow to elbow in a Starbucks. I mean, imagine how if this actually sparked a conversation between two customers in a Starbucks, how they would approach and talk to each other versus how this played out on social media and vitriol and nastiness on Twitter. I mean, I think it just really highlights the problem that we're talking about.
Yeah, and it's both problems at the same time. That's right.
Well, as long as
you can have a conversation, you can't have a tweet.
Exactly
as long as they've had their coffee. You know, I think one of the reasons why there's a problem in terms of having a conversation on race is that this is such a deeply personal conversation that it requires trust and someone you know. You're not going to know the person in the line at Starbucks. Well, maybe not that well.
Well, Jonathan, if you run into Larry Elder in the Starbucks, you never know what conversation you might have.
Well, there
might be better than on Twitter.
There won't be one. Thank you, Casey Hunt, Paul Singer, and Lauren Victoria Burke.